here to pour their talents and passions back into this community. But if we erode the quality of our schools, we lose that future. Young families will look elsewhere. The long-standing reputation of excellence we've worked so hard to build will be at risk. I fully understand your fiduciary responsibilities, but I urge you to view the budget not as a cost, but as an investment in our town's future. Great communities are built around great schools. The BOE budget sustains that excellence. Please collaborate with the Board of Education to ensure we have the resources to continue delivering the high-quality education that defines Greenwich. Let's keep our families here, attract new ones, and protect what makes this community exceptional. Thank you.
Margaret Jackins, followed by John James. Apparently the GCTV stream is working now.
Good evening, members of the BET. My name is Margaret Jackins, and I have been teaching in Greenwich for 20 years. During that time, I've taught at Riverside, Central Middle School, and currently at Greenwich High School. When I arrived in Greenwich, I was surprised and thrilled to be allocated a generous dollar amount that allowed me to purchase anything I could think of and more for my students. That generosity continued for many years, but along the line, something changed. And that spirit of generosity gradually disappeared. One year, there was a moratorium on attending conferences, which meant no more new materials or teaching techniques. One year, mid-year spending stopped so early that parents were donating cases of copy paper to the school. Last year, a line item for substitute teachers was revoked from one department, which meant there could be no field trips because there was no money to pay for covering classes, which meant no exciting real-life experiences for students. Purse strings are getting tighter and tighter, to the point where a town that had the reputation for generosity is now seen as miserly. We are woefully understaffed in a variety of ways. We are in dire need of paraprofessionals to assist our neediest students who need a consistent, positive presence with them, not just the person who happens to be available. And those paraprofessionals deserve to earn a living wage. Class sizes are increasing to the point where teachers cannot give the amount of personal attention they would like to their students. At GHS, not all rooms are the same size, and some are crowded to the point that when desks are put in rows for testing, the teacher can't easily get to students to answer a question. Teachers are constantly being asked to give up prep periods or learning center duties to cover classes for absent teachers because there are not enough substitutes to go around. That means papers don't get graded, lessons that don't get planned, and most importantly, students who are in learning centers not getting the extra help that they are there for in the first place. Morale is lower than it has ever been, and teachers are leaving Greenwich for towns where they are treated with respect and consideration. Last year, 32 teachers left Greenwich over the course of the entire school year. This year, 53 have gone, and it's only March. I can't remember a time when I experienced conditions that left people so downhearted. Actually, I can. It was long before I came to Greenwich, and I was teaching at an inner-city high school in Manhattan. Greenwich, we can do better. We have done better, and our children deserve better. Thank you.
John James, followed by Virginia Lockhart.
Good evening, members of the BET. I'm John James. I'm the father of Louisa, a first grader at Riverside School, and Emmeline, a rising kindergartner currently at St. Paul's, and husband of Liz, who teaches music at St. Paul's. We are current and future Riverside School parents. First, I'd like to thank you for the initial steps taken to move the Riverside School renovation project forward in an expeditious and financially sound way. I would also like to acknowledge the individuals dressed in Riverside red who are here tonight to demonstrate our community's strong support for the project. As you may recall, at January's public hearing, many Riverside school parents, staff, and even a student shared an array of experiences that conveyed, for instance, how disruptive, even hazardous, school can be for Riverside students with disabilities or injuries, and how often sacrifices must be made due to many undersized spaces and a shortage of rooms in the building. January's multifaceted testimony emphasized the urgency of the building's issues and how the project's ed specs, which were unanimously approved by the BOE, provide a way to resolve them in a practical manner. The plans focus on necessity, not luxury, amounting to an estimated $41.5 million of work on the building. This is a reduction from the BOE's original $48 million plan, which is a win both for the school and the town. While a project of this magnitude may prompt some to wonder if building an entirely new school could make more economic sense, feasibility established that the current building is well constructed with timeless features that are worth preserving where possible. And data from new elementary school construction currently underway in the state indicate a 50% premium to build new versus renovate in accordance with the project's ed specs. In other words, an additional $25 million to replace a building nobody in our community wants to lose. The building is a neighborhood gem. While it has many shortcomings, it is not broken beyond repair. If done right, we expect the investment in this building to last for decades to come. With all this in mind, a renovation is the reasonable and preferred approach. In the span of just the past few months, several stakeholders have followed the procedural steps we have in town and taken action to advance this project. Feasibility has created a sensible plan to properly address the building's issues, which the BOE approved decisively. The first selectman publicly endorsed and prioritized this project in his budget presentation. And our community of parents, staff, students, and neighbors has spoken, written, and shown up to express support. Members of the BET, now it's your turn to take action and advance this project by approving $2 million for A&E in the fiscal year 26 budget and $41.5 in 27 capital plan. Thank you for your time.
Virginia Lockhart, followed by Janet McMahon.
Good evening, members of the BET. I'm Virginia Lockhart, a parent and PTA co-president at Riverside School. The long-awaited renovation of Riverside is essential to our community. You've heard from many of us at prior meetings and via email. Even with young children at home, many of us have made sure to find a way to be here tonight wearing our school color, red. Since many of the fundamental issues have already been addressed in parent and staff speeches on other occasions, I won't repeat their points. Instead, I would like to address two specific matters that have been raised regarding the renovation project. One, the proposed building expansion may not be warranted due to declining enrollment. And two, that in lieu of a building expansion, capacity issues could be addressed through minor redistricting to Old Greenwich. First, the district's recent enrollment declines have not played out at Riverside. While we did experience a dip this year, it's likely attributable to the change in the cutoff birth date for current kindergartners. As per Dr. Jones, enrollment is expected to rebound for the 2025-26 school year with at least 4 sections of incoming kindergartners. This would bring Riverside back in line with its past 10-year average of 450 plus students. This growth is in line with the broader district trend, with next year's incoming classes slated to be the largest since pre-COVID, followed by stable enrollment through 2030. Second, redistricting some students from Riverside School catchment area to the Old Greenwich School is not a feasible solution to addressing Riverside's capacity issues. As the OGS Building Committee has already explained, the 4 classrooms included in that building's addition are not incremental and will instead replace classrooms the school is losing in other parts of the building as part of its renovation. Thus, when the OGS renovation is complete, it will have the same number of grade level classrooms that it has today, and OGS will not have room to accommodate a meaningful number of students beyond its current catchment area. In any case, shrinking enrollment at Riverside would still not provide the necessary relief that the building renovation is designed to provide, because the building would still lack ample designated small spaces for specialized instruction and student support that are needed regardless of enrollment. The school's many undersized classrooms, common areas, and office spaces would still not be in line with, or at least closer to, the prevailing standard. And our cafeteria is so small that even with 100 less students, it would still be far tighter on a space per student basis than most K through 5 schools in the district. Minor redistricting to a neighboring school will not solve the fundamental space issues at Riverside School, but the renovation and expansion project laid out in the BOE approved ed specs will. With that in mind, we urge you to move this project forward by funding $2 million for A&E in the fiscal 26 capital budget and $41.5 million for construction in fiscal 25 capital plan. I also encourage you to fully fund the school's operating budget. Thank you.
Janet McMahon, followed by Sherry Azar, please.
Good evening, Chairman Fisher, members of the BET, and guests. Thank you for your service to the town and for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Janet McMahon, and tonight I'm speaking to you as Chairwoman of the PTAC Facilities Committee. Our committee is in full support of the BOE's capital budget request of $24.12 million. Roughly half of this request is for normal course maintenance and repairs of our 15 public school facilities. And as you know, this is the smallest BOE capital budget in years and about half of your estimate of $46.6 million back in April 24. While all the capital projects in this budget are important and necessary, I'd like to draw your attention to the following projects that are our school community's priorities, and we respectfully request that these specific lines not be cut. The Julian Curtis cafeteria renovation for $2.7 million is for Phase 3 renovations to provide a functional cafeteria space. The current cafeteria is poorly utilized and inaccessible, leaving students eating lunch in 6 waves starting at 10:30 a.m. Furthermore, the current lunchroom is inadequate for students with auditory and other sensory deficits. The JCBC has made great progress with phases 1 and 2. Let's move forward to complete these essential modernization and ADA renovations for the school. The $2 million for A&E work for Riverside School also remains top of mind not only for the committee, but for the entire Riverside community. As you're aware, Riverside School is the most crowded school in the district, with every square inch of the building being used and some spaces being repurposed multiple times a day, and the situation is only about to get worse with enrollment increasing. These A&E funds are critical to keeping the renovation on budget and on schedule. Any cuts now will only increase its cost later. The committee also requests that the $5.8 million to address a myriad of accessibility issues at Western Middle School stays in the capital budget to comply with the ADA Act of 1990. Speaking of ADA, the ADA accessible North Street Playground is also critically important, as North Street School is the host school for the Unique Learners Program. It is past time to fund ADA compliance 35 years after the law was passed. It's also time to fund Phase 2 of the GHS Cellular Improvement Project. Cellular reception remains spotty in most of the school building, and $500,000 is a small price to pay for the safety and well-being of 2,500 students, teachers, and staff. Our committee is also in support of the recent $5.2 million request to rehab the geothermal HVAC at Hamilton Avenue School. This recent budget request would expedite the removal of the noisy and temporary HVAC system currently in place at the school and would align with the RTM's net zero summer vote in April 24, as well as the Board of Ed's 6-1 vote and the BET Budget Committee's 202 vote on this item. In conclusion, PTAC Facilities respectfully requests fully funding the capital budget and especially the lines above. The more we delay any capital project, the more we open up our town to liability and preventable construction escalation costs. It also delays other school construction projects, which further compounds the Board of Ed's existing backlog of projects. Thank you.
Sherry Azar, followed by Mary Dolan Collette.
Good evening, members of the BET, distinguished guests. Thank you for your dedication to this town and for the opportunity to address you tonight. My name is Shari Azar, and I serve as the co-president of the Parkway School PTA. I am both a product of GPS and a proud current parent, where I have 2 twins at Parkway. I am here to strongly urge you to fully fund the BOE budget. With the arrival of COVID-era children entering kindergarten next year, our enrollment numbers are projected to rise significantly across all of our schools. In a town as affluent as Greenwich, we cannot afford to let class sizes grow which would directly undermine the quality of education and ensure that schools remain an engaging and healthy environment, one that supports essential programs like physical education, foreign languages, and the advanced learning programs. The longer we delay critical capital projects, the more we expose our town to liability and the risk of escalating construction costs. Not investing in our schools now will have far-reaching consequences and lowered test scores, decreased enthusiasm for public education, declining enrollment, and even diminished property values. We must act now before these costs become even more burdensome. Thank you for your time and for your commitment to further invest in our children and our community.
Mary Dolan Collette, followed by Octavia Melly.
Good evening, members of the BET. My name is Mary Dolan Collette. I stand before you tonight as the proud assistant principal of Riverside School to highlight the urgent need for the proposed renovations. I am deeply grateful for the board's ongoing support and consideration as this project presents a unique opportunity to transform Riverside into a space that truly meets the needs of our students, staff, and families. Our academic achievements, most recently recognized in U.S. News and World Report, are a testament to the exceptional talent of our teachers and the dedications of our students. However, when it comes to our school's infrastructure, I must express my concern. Every day, our dedicated educators face challenges, compromising on dynamic teaching practices due to cramped, inflexible classrooms. Despite their tireless efforts, the physical limitations of our current building restrict their ability to engage students in hands-on activities, small group instruction, and innovative projects. As assistant principal, I too find myself adjusting my vision for events, activities, and even routine meetings. The limited space often forces us to scale back or rearrange our plans. Additionally, when we walk prospective families through our building, it often feels less like showcasing what Riverside has to offer and more like damage control. Comments like, "You can fit 20 students in this classroom?" or concerns navigating a building without an elevator highlight just how far our facilities fall short of the innovative, future-ready education we strive to provide. The heart of the issue is this: while our building holds a great deal of charm and history, it no longer aligns with the message we wish to send to our students. It is outdated and in many ways inadequate. This renovation is not just about improving aesthetics or convenience. It's about creating a physical space that reflects the vibrant learning environment we are cultivating. In closing, I want to thank the BET for your time and consideration. With your continued support, we can create a school that not only honors Riverside's legacy, but also prepares it for its future. Thank you.
Octavia Melly, followed by Julie Perrin-Niaz.
Good evening. My name is Octavia Melly, and I'm honored to speak tonight on behalf of the Riverside Association in strong support of the much-needed renovation project for Riverside Elementary School. This project is not just a matter of infrastructure. It's an investment in the future of our children and our community. The Riverside Association represents a broad spectrum of residents, including many who have no direct affiliation with the school. This project is not only important to families with school-aged children, but also to the larger community, as the quality of our schools affects the vitality of our entire neighborhood. Riverside Elementary School is a well-built, pre-war neighborhood landmark with a charming facade and accompanying grounds that complement the surrounding residential area. However, it is outdated and inaccessible, with undersized common areas and too few spaces for instruction and services the school district is required to deliver. Based on what we currently know about the building's issues and the scope of the work laid out in the ed specs to address them, the Riverside Association Board of Governors wants to voice its support for this project. The proposed renovations make sense, addressing critical infrastructure needs while preserving the character of the building. This investment is expected to serve our community well for decades to come. This project benefits all of us. Families with school-aged children will see the most immediate impact, but strong schools contribute to a strong neighborhood. When we invest in the institutions that anchor our community, we reinforce what makes Riverside such a special place to live. On behalf of the Riverside Association, I urge you to support this renovation project. Our children, our families, and our entire community will benefit from this long overdue investment. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Julie Farinaz, followed by Jennifer Vicavengo.
Good evening, Chairman Fisher and members of the BET. My name is Julie Fariniars, and I am the Executive Director of the Greenwich Alliance for Education, your town's education foundation for the Greenwich Public Schools. I am also the proud parent of 3 Greenwich Public School graduates. Greenwich Alliance for Education is in full support of the BOE budget and asks that you fund it as presented by the superintendent and the Board of Ed. As a Greenwich Public School distinguished teacher who taught 2 of my children, gave her students, after taking an exam, the chance to improve their grade if they spent additional time researching and learning more about the subject matter. The growth mindset is what education is all about. You have all come here tonight with more data and factual information than you had when you set the guidelines. Use what you have learned to vote for the children and teachers in our district. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Jennifer Vicavengo, and followed by Jessica Bernschatz.
Good evening, members of the Board of Estimate and Taxation and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Dr. Jennifer Bensavengo, and I am incredibly proud to serve as the principal of Old Greenwich School. First, I want to express my sincere gratitude for your ongoing support of our school's renovation and expansion project. We are eagerly anticipating our groundbreaking on April 23rd and would be honored to have all of you join us for this milestone. However, ensuring a safe and accessible school extends beyond our building's walls. It is critical that the roadways and walkways leading to our school are equally safe for our students. That is why I urge you to fully support the next phase of the sidewalk improvements on Shore Road, providing our students with a secure and accessible route to school. I would be remiss if I didn't advocate for our neighbors in Riverside and the full funding of their architectural and engineering design plan, so similar to ours. In addition to speaking as a principal, I stand before you as the co-president of the Greenwich Organization of School Administrators with David Wacko. You can envision him next to me. He had a different meeting this evening. The Greenwich Public Schools are home to decorated scholars, athletes, and performers, each nurtured and guided by nationally recognized award-winning educators. We are fortunate to have some of the most talented teachers in the country. And yet, if these proposed budget cuts take effect, it will be those very educators and their students who suffer the most. It is imperative that we uphold class size guidelines and maintain the diverse course offerings for students from pre-K through high school. The foundation for nationally and internationally recognized athletes is built in the kindergarten PE classrooms, where they learn sportsmanship, teamwork, and perseverance. The accomplished scientists and scholars mentored by Dr. Bermonti would not have achieved their success without the strong elementary and middle school science programs that instilled in them the fundamentals of research and investigation. As you have heard from our district leadership, there is nowhere left to cut without directly impacting the teachers who stand in front of almost 9,000 students each day. The Greenwich Organization of School Administrators takes its responsibility seriously, serving as vigilant stewards of our department and building-based budgets, ensuring every dollar is spent wisely and only on what is absolutely necessary to support the safe and successful operation of our schools. For these reasons, we respectfully urge you to fully fund the Board of Education operating budget as written. We will continue to do our part to ensure that our town's greatest resource, our children, are prepared to be the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you.
Jessica, excuse me, Jessica Panchatz, followed by Lillian Perone.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Panchatz. I'm Vice President of Membership for the GEA. I first ask you to please fully fund our schools, including their infrastructure projects that keep our students safe and accessible. I am here to read a statement on behalf of one of our members. Her name is Tiffany Vicari, and she is a second grade teacher at Old Greenwich Elementary School. Good evening. My name is Tiffany Vicari. I'm a second grade teacher at Old Greenwich Elementary School. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I stand before you to emphasize the critical importance of fully funding the superintendent's budget and the long-term impact that any cuts would have on our students, educators, and the future of our district. First and foremost, the education of our students is at the heart of everything we do. Our teachers and staff are dedicated to providing the best possible learning environment, but that becomes increasingly difficult when funding is cut. A reduction in the budget directly affects the resources available to our classrooms, affecting not only the materials and programs, but also the number of teachers available to our students. Perhaps the most concerning outcome of these budget cuts would be the inevitable increase in our class sizes. Larger classes means less individual attention for each student, which can have significant impact on their learning experience. It becomes more difficult for teachers to address the needs of every student, particularly those who may need extra support or enrichment. This isn't just a logistical issue. It's a matter of equity. Every student deserves the opportunity to succeed and receive a personalized education, regardless of their background or ability level. When we cut funding, we are cutting opportunities for our students. We are cutting their access to smaller class sizes, innovative programs, extracurricular activities, and the support that makes our schools great. I urge you to consider the long-term consequences of these cuts. Investing in education is investing in the future of our community. Our students are the leaders, innovators, and problem solvers of tomorrow, and we owe it to them to provide a high-quality education, no matter the financial challenges we face. Thank you for your time and your commitment to the students of this district. Let us continue to prioritize their education and support the funding needed to ensure their success. Thank you for your service.
Lillian Perone, followed by Alexandra Stephen.
Good evening, BET. Thank you for your service. It is a difficult job, and so is teaching. My name is Lillian Perone, proud president of GEA, the largest union in Greenwich, and this is my 36.6th year in this great town. And I still love it. I was looking through the estimate and taxation reference book, Powers and Duties. The BET powers, duties, and responsibilities may be altered by state legislation or by home rule action as provided in the charter. The BET's ultimate responsibility is for the proper administration of financial affairs of the town, Section 1. Our schools, our students, our GPS staff are part of the town of Greenwich, and we need our budget fully funded. We have made great strides in improving in special education based on our reports. If you listen to our last board meeting, we made great strides in math and science and great growth. There are a lot of things in our budget that are unfunded mandates. Many positions were funded by ESSER funds, Title I funds, IDEA, federal grants, all of which now have been drastically reduced or cut that we didn't plan for in the budget but must keep because it's mandated by law. So where do we go from here?
Increase class sizes, cut programs, cut services, cut teachers. Since COVID, my teachers have been here and have shown up educating our students, lifting up the community and each other and trying to hold it all together. But you know, we're getting tired. We're overworked. We're covering classes. We have shortages in subs and paras. We're covering teachers who are leaving Greenwich or resigning. By not funding our budget, you are driving us into the ground and are killing morale. I read your profiles. You're all pretty impressive. Education is big business, and you are all at the top of your field. You're practicing attorneys, hedge fund managers, chemical engineers, risk management. We need to do things differently. Things were much easier in my early years here. People flocked here. We have to think differently, act differently. We have to change our business model. We have, instead of hundreds of applicants, maybe one or two. People are turning down jobs. People are not driving down here. What can we do differently? I don't care about other districts having shortages. I care about Greenwich. We need to think better. Thank you, Peter. We need to think better and do things better. We need to build it. And you have the financial capital and the human capital. We have it all. Why can't we work together and get it done to make us all great again? Thank you for what you do. Thank you, GEA.
Alexandra Stevens, followed by Jamie Charles.
Good evening. My name is Alexandra Stevens. My husband and I have lived in Coscob for about 25 years, and we have 3 children, a GPS alum, one at GHS currently, and one at Coscob School. 18 years ago, I left a private sector career, much like yours, and took a 65% pay cut to become a teacher at GHS because I believe strongly in public education. A feeling that some on this board seem not to share, as you have weakened our schools by underfunding them for more than a decade. Hundreds of classes exceed size guidelines at GHS. Student mental health challenges go unmet. 21st century skills are not consistently taught, and some buildings don't comply with the ADA while others are physically deteriorating. One solution that keeps coming up is cutting even more teachers and hoping that those of us who are left will somehow find the time to take on their work. It's become an impossible task. For example, in secondary school libraries, we've suffered a 40% cut in teachers responsible for teaching reading, research, and literacy. Although those of us who have remained try mightily, we cannot fully make up for that loss. And so hundreds of students who used to receive these lessons no longer do. The town keeps cutting teachers while educational demands continue to increase. SPED needs grow by the day. There are fewer subs and paraprofessionals, and new state graduation mandates require additional staff. You might think most of us would look back on the COVID years as the most difficult of our career, and they were difficult, but each year since then has gotten worse due to a multitude of issues resulting in a great part from the underfunding of schools. Just last year, you required the BOE to cut 10 secondary teachers on top of the teacher reductions in previous years. Here are just a few of the many negative consequences that resulted. As of today, 53 teachers have quit in the middle of the school year, a 65% increase over the number who quit all of last year, which itself was a drastic increase over previous years. 2 teachers who were hired this year resigned within their first month due to the working conditions. It took almost 6 months to fill one opening after a teacher quit, and the principal had to make at least 3 offers before he was finally find someone willing to come to GPS. We're currently short 18 paras across the district, and every day teachers are covering for paras and other teachers due to the severe lack of subs because we pay these valuable employees less than other surrounding towns. These conditions were unheard of in Greenwich until the BET started defunding the schools a decade ago. But make no mistake, word is out that a town with the largest grand list in the state, over $36 billion, doesn't support the schools. Towns like Darien, New Canaan, Fairfield, Westport don't have the high needs our students have and aren't as wealthy, but they increase their school budgets far more than we do. These districts have smaller class sizes, lower student-teacher ratios, and more social workers and psychologists. It's no surprise that so many of my colleagues have left over the past 5 years to teach in those towns, and that so many more of us are trying to follow them. I know dozens of teachers across the district who are actively searching for a new job right now. That's the real consequence of your terrible financial decisions. It's time to start fixing this disaster and not only pass this proposed budget, but commit to a multi-year plan to start digging GPS out of the hole that you have created. Thank you.
Jamie Charles, followed by Chris Burdick.
Hello, my name is Jamie Charles, and I'm an art educator at Greenwich High School. Hello, BET. May I please ask, how many of you have had the opportunity to have a Greenwich Public School education? May you raise your hand? Thank you. How many of you have had a child in our schools? Thank you. You know what we're asking. I urge you to fully fund our proposed budget and continue to invest in our schools. Cutting teachers would have a profound and negative impact on student learning and the quality of education we provide. Our students thrive when they have the necessary resources to explore their creativity and potential. However, since 2020, rising costs of art materials and budget cuts have forced us to remove and scale back the scope of our projects within our curriculum. We want to maintain the exceptional and competitive programming that Greenwich Public Schools are known for, but that requires proper funding. Additionally, we are at a loss for what has happened to all of our paraprofessionals. Paras play a critical role in supporting students with special needs, as well as supporting the well-being of the entire school population. They deserve fair pay, better working conditions, and recognition for the invaluable work they do. Right now, they are stretched to their limits, rushing across the school to meet student needs. It is clear that we need more paraprofessionals on staff and must invest in them as essential members of our community. I urge you to support our educators, students, and staff by approving the full proposed budget. Thank you.
Chris Burdick, followed by Bob Cheney.
Good evening. I'm Chris Burdick. My children went to the international school at Dundee and are currently at Eastern Middle School and Greenwich High School. I strongly urge you, the members of the Board of Estimation and Taxation, to approve the Greenwich School's proposed operating budget in full. This is not a budget full of fluff. Rather, it's a budget that provides Greenwich schools with what they need to provide a top quality education for our children. Right now, our education system is under assault at the national level. But here at the local level, look at how many people have turned out tonight to show their support for Greenwich schools. There are parents, students, and teachers who all recognize that a quality education doesn't just happen, it needs to be funded. Time and time again, people show up here and speak to the BET begging for money to fix, rebuild, and fund our schools. Cutting the proposed budget won't result in the elimination of frivolous waste, but will rather cut teaching and eliminate critical programming. Honestly, I don't understand why this is a difficult decision. The question isn't, can Greenwich afford the proposed school budget? Because we can. The question is, does the BET recognize the value of a quality education? It isn't that difficult. Invest in our children, support our teachers, fund our schools in full. Thank you for your time.
Bob Cheney, followed by Noel Moore.
Good evening. My name is Bob Cheney. I am a District 11 RTM member and also volunteer my time at the public schools here through the PTA and the Julian Curtis Building Committee. I do this because I want our town of Greenwich to be the best town it can be. While I do like to volunteer in town, my most important role is as a parent. I have a student here at Central and I have one at the high school. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the BOE budget as presented. As everyone here is aware, there's an over $4 million difference between the Greenwich Public School budget and the BET guideline expectations. That is a large gap. Tonight, I want to talk about what these cuts would mean. I don't have to tell you that $4 million is a huge amount. If $4 million is taken out of the proposed BOE budget, it would mean that the teachers definitely have to get cut, as taking away that $4 million does not even cover the current salaries of the Greenwich Public Schools faculty. Where else do we cut? The cuts would have to come from ALP, AP classes, foreign language, sports programs, student services. This would be detrimental to all of the academic achievements that happen in all of our public schools, not to mention all the wonderful and amazing programs at the high school that might have to go. This would not only have a massive impact on the current students, this would have an impact on the reputation of the Greenwich Public Schools at large, as our students currently are able to take advantage of such amazing programs that might inevitably be cut. Look, I know it's easy to look at numbers on a page and say that we need to slice $4 million, but this is far more complicated than that. Each and every cut is something that is a loss for our students in the public schools here in Greenwich. These cuts could be a teacher that is not hired, a bright student that needs advanced programs to challenge them, a student athlete that excels in a specific sport and might need that sport to get them into a good college, classes with too many students in them, perhaps even the entire elementary school physical education program. This budget is not just numbers on a page. This budget is for our students, for our children. Please understand that they need the full BOE budget to be approved so that they can have the best possible future imaginable. They deserve that. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Noel Moore, followed by Peter Schur.
Hello, my name is Noelle Moore. I am a parent of 3 children in the Greenwich Public Schools, and I'm also a District 12 RTM member. I do not have prepared remarks tonight, but I would like to request that you fund the BOE budget as proposed, and even better, maybe give them a few extra dollars. We chose to move to Greenwich because of the schools, and when I look at what's happening in our schools compared to our peer towns around Connecticut, it concerns me. And I think that we need to invest in our schools. If we don't, it's very short-sighted. Our property values are going to start falling if we do not spend the money to prop up our schools, make sure that the class sizes stay small, and that we have the best teachers. So please fund. Thank you.
Peter Schur, followed by Doug Fenton.
Get ready, I'm gonna talk fast. I'm a Riverside resident who has 3 children who attended Greenwich Public Schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. They all attended the schools of their dreams, Oxford University and UCLA. How? Great teachers and guidance counselors. I'm here because I just can't handle the lies and misinformation flying around, primarily propagated by Republican and Democrat politicians. It's not fair to parents and it should stop. Parents deserve the classrooms that my kids had. It can be done if we can park all this nonsense. Here are the facts and suggestions about what to do. Enrollment has declined and it's not coming back. K-12 has dropped 480 students since 2019, and after 5 years, it's not recovered. This discussion about the Democrats putting out that there's a bump in kindergarten is because of the change in entry date for children. Since 2019, teaching staff and other school academic staff has actually gone up from 1,010 to 1,030 employees, despite losing 500 students. Expenditures have skyrocketed to nearly $28,000 per student. Meanwhile, academic performance, which is far and away the most important thing, is exactly where it was when Dr. Jones arrived in 2019. You must protect the academic classroom, and here's how to do it while meeting the financial goals that you have. First of all, get academic resources to 2019 levels. If you fund it at 2019 levels, without reducing it to account for 500 students left, you can still provide a great system. Teacher absenteeism is double all other districts in Connecticut. Go look at the CSDE site. If you can get HR to manage getting teachers in the classroom, it's thousands of days that get paid for substitutes because teachers are not in the classroom. If you can get them to the Connecticut average, like all other districts do, you can save nearly $2 million. Greenwich has the best teacher pay and contract in the state. Entry-level salary is $59,000, which after 13 years grows to $133,000. It's higher than anywhere else. But the administration, Blaze and Jonathan, by both coming in to you repeatedly, has explained that they are in their hiring not following that contract and routinely hiring people not at the entry level, but at the middle of the salary scale. That explodes operating expense without adding anything to the classroom. If you put these three fixes in place, you can easily fund a system that meets the financial guidelines and protects teachers and the classrooms, which is the most important thing. Thank you.
Doug Fenton, followed by John Simone.
Fun act to follow. Hello, members of the BET. My name is Doug Fenton. I'm a resident of Riverside and serve on the Budget Overview Committee of the RTM. Last year, a bipartisan majority of you decided to fund the BOE's budget. That decision was celebrated by the Greenwich community, and we have seen it pay dividends in our school this year. In January, I presented to the BOC on our schools a document I've shared with you all. My conclusion was that the BET guidelines for our schools understated contractual cost increases and the impacts of grant reductions. Therefore, a material cut in the Board of Ed budget will likely require a meaningful reduction in programs and staffing that is unwarranted by modest changes in enrollment. I further detailed that even if BOE budget is fully funded, this coming school year will already see K-5 classrooms with their largest average class size since 2019. The total number of K-12 Gen Ed teachers will have been reduced by roughly 30 in the last 3 years, and our Gen Ed student-teacher ratios are expected to continue to rise. Since then, we've learned that kindergarten enrollment is on track to be the largest in over a decade, with roughly 700 kindergarten students joining GPS in the fall. While I don't believe this warrants an increase in the budget, material cuts could seriously impact our K-5 learners. Greenwich schools already run efficiently. Compared to Darien, New Canaan, and Westport, on a per-student basis, we already have fewer total staff, fewer administrators, and fewer paraprofessionals, as other speakers have highlighted. While Greenwich currently has similar number of certified teachers per student, a meaningful cut to the BOE budget would change that. At the BET budget meetings, there's been a lot of discussion about the budgeted headcount increase of 22, or 1.5%. A portion of these additional headcount reflect the decline in Title I grant funding. However, the vast majority of these additions are special education related. The Connecticut law change that brought forward the kindergarten enrollment birth date has added pre-K students and necessitated additional classrooms and staff. Most of the other additions are for new programs like Positive Pathways or continuing programs like co-taught classrooms and just general SPED paraprofessionals that benefit our students and serve to keep students in district at a lower total cost to Greenwich taxpayers. As for return on investment, the Education Recovery Scorecard stated that Greenwich is one of only 8% of Connecticut districts with better performance than pre-COVID in math and reading, and EdSite data says the same about science.
3 seconds.
Thank you. Please do not put these outcomes at risk. In sum, I'm asking you to fully fund the Board of Ed's approved operating budget to ensure that Greenwich will have strong and efficient schools in the year ahead. Ahead of decision day, I'm happy to walk any of you through my presentation to the BOC. Thank you all for your consideration and your service to the town.
John Simone, followed by Alex Quintana.
Good evening. I'm here this evening representing my wife Dorothy and our 2 children aged 9 and 2, who couldn't be here due to homework and bedtime, as I'm sure you understand. We live in the North Street School District, and I would like to voice my support for the proposed school budget. We moved to Greenwich in 2016, in large part due to the strength of the school system. I'm a product of public schools myself, and frankly, they paled in comparison to the terrific program that my family and I have experienced here in Greenwich. My son especially has had a wonderful experience at North Street School and has benefited enormously from the ALP program, which we would very much like to see continue. I know that you do not approve specific programming, but the ALP program is at risk should this budget fail. I also consider myself a fiscal conservative, much like the young Reaganite who spoke so eloquently earlier. As I understand it, there's a $4.1 million differential between the proposed budget and the BET guidelines. As a taxpayer, I'm grateful for the board's efforts to keep our mill rate low. However, I would urge the board to consider the financial ramifications for those of us who may be forced to consider private schools or other districts as an alternative if our children no longer have access to those programs that help them to excel. Thank you very much for your time and attention and for having us here this evening.
Alex Quintana, followed by Kathleen Stowe.
Good evening, members of the BET and guests, and thank you for your service to the town. My name is Alex Quintana. I'm a GHS graduate and now also a proud parent of a first grader at North Street and a 4-year-old who thinks he's a first grader at North Street. I'm here to ask you to fully fund our schools. The debate before us is about the future we want to build for our children and our community. I'm going to paint 2 pictures tonight. In the first, we choose to invest. From an early age, our students have access to world languages, PE, music, art, and technology. They're supported by teachers who aren't worried about their jobs or looking at other districts or job listings. They're just focused on their students. They graduate ready for anything. Some of them return to Greenwich to open places like Greenwich Brewing, Van Leeuwen Ice Cream, which is expensive but delicious, or Bax Cycles. Some go on to found companies like Priceline and Lyft. Yes, all founded by GHS grads. All of them began their education in the classrooms that we can choose to fund. Now, a second picture. It's a little bleaker. We hold back funding. At first, as parents, maybe we don't see the changes, but the kids will. Spanish becomes a once every other week for 30 minutes with a teacher who travels between schools and doesn't know your name kind of class. Class sizes grow. Teachers leave for other districts that offer more stability. And right now, those peer districts already spend more per student and have smaller staff to student ratios. Our excellent schools slip to good, then average. Families move away, enrollment drops. The cuts get deeper, the negative cycle continues to spin. This year's BOE budget isn't bloated. It's a response to real needs, contractual wage increases, rising transportation costs, and the expiration of federal grants. Please don't ask our students and teachers to do more with less. Let's paint that first picture together and fund our schools. Thank you for your time and your service to the town.
Kathleen Stowe, followed by Rachel Khanna.
Good evening. Oh, I don't have to, this is the opposite of when I'm up there. Okay. Good evening. My name is Kathleen Stone. For those of you that I have not met, I am in my 8th year as a proud member of the Board of Education, with the majority of that time on the Budget Committee. I'm also the proud mom of 3 GPS kids. First, as a fellow public servant, I want to thank you for your time and for listening this evening. One of my favorite parts of serving on the board is public comment, especially when it's from our students. So thank you for listening to all of us. I won't go through all the figures since you know them and have had the opportunity to ask your questions, but I want to highlight some of the good stuff that perhaps as finance members you don't get to hear. But I think it's important to reflect on some of our successes and then talk about the challenges. First of all, we are constantly winning awards in arts and music. Please go listen to the orchestra or band or attend a choral performance or a play at one of our schools. You'll be wowed. Sports. I couldn't possibly name all the regional and state championships, since surely I will miss one. However, I cannot leave tonight without congratulating Terry Lowe again and another swimming championship, the 11th straight Triple Crown. Academics. 8 of our schools are schools of a distinction. Our ALP program is a differentiator in the state. Fresh in my mind is the STEM report that we just heard at our last board meeting, illustrated so much as our successes in math and science. You hear about our science research program led by Andy Bermonti. It's recognized. They literally wrote a book on him. Let me talk a little bit about our AP courses. We have 32. Last year, we administered more than 2,700 exams, and the scores keep increasing, even though we keep adding more and more students taking the exams. I have to highlight, GHS is one of the very few high schools to offer AP Physics B and Physics C in one school year, and the highest result in the country, averaging 4.47 in C and 4.27 in B. That's incredible. I appreciate that you have a hard job needing to balance all the needs of the community, and so we do our part as a board to find those efficiencies, to cut where we think it'll avoid the classroom. Over the years, we continually reduce positions wherever possible. I will point out fiscal year 24 and 25, more than 27 FTEs. Efficiencies in professional development, consolidation of bus routes, changing the preschool student ratio. This year, Cody Kettle and I, along with our committee, analyzed the budget with Ben Branyan, who you all know very well, and he was a fresh set of eyes.
30 seconds.
He built the most efficient budget with Dr. Jones while still delivering for our students. Still, the budget committee got to work, and we managed to find another $500,000, and that's the budget in front of you tonight. As you know, the largest part of the budget increase is a guaranteed wage increase, and our schools will only continue to thrive with the investment in our teachers, which in turn is a direct investment in our students. I leave you with this. In my 8 years on the board, there are not many budget votes that pass with such a majority. This budget passed 7-1. Thank you.
Rachel Khanna, followed by Lisa Sylvester.
Good evening, members of the Board of Estimate and Taxation. My name is Rachel Khanna. I'm a longtime Greenwich resident, a parent of a Greenwich High School graduate, a former RTM member, and former state representative for the 149th District. I'm here this evening to urge you to support and approve the Board of Education's operating budget request. The Board of Education went through the budget with an eye to cutting what they could, and their request is what is absolutely necessary to provide mandated and high-quality education. Further cuts come at the expense of teachers' jobs and educational programs. We want our town to have high-quality schools for our children, but also to continue attracting families to Greenwich. It's vital for the future of our town. For many years, there's been talk that enrollment in Greenwich Public Schools is on a downward trajectory. But in fact, enrollment in our public schools has remained fairly steady for the past 2 decades. Notably, pre-enrollment for kindergarten is the highest in a decade. And this is a trend bolstered by increasing local birth rates and not a one-time adjustment due to age requirement changes. It's simple math. BOE operating costs are up due to contractual salary increases, increased transportation costs, an increasing special education population, and loss of federal funding such as ARPA and Title I. Cutting teachers and programs, increasing class sizes, or consolidating schools means ultimately it's our students who will pay. I urge you to focus on what the BOE is telling you it needs to continue to provide excellent educational programming to all our students and to please fully fund the Board of Education's operating budget. Thank you for your consideration.
Lisa Sylvester, followed by Justine Bolduc, please.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Lisa Sylvester, and I'm the Greenwich High School PTA outgoing president. I am in full support of the revised proposed GPS budget, and I'm asking for no further cuts. Over my past 24 years of volunteering within the Greenwich Public Schools PTAs, both behind the scenes and in roles like the one I have now, I have seen this story before, as many of us have. The superintendent comes up with his or her budget, it goes to the BOE, they tweak it, and it all comes before you. Then comes nights like this. We all get up to speak, hoping that our comments matter and will truly make a difference. We are energized, we're wearing our school colors, and we want to see all of you place the utmost importance on our public school students and teachers. Typically, though, we find out more cuts are made, which usually means teachers losing jobs, programs being cut, facility needs are pushed back, and more. My question to you all is, at what point do we all get on the same page and say our students and teachers deserve better? This vote tonight should solely be about what is right for our public schools. Each and every single item, teacher, and student are all important. I can tell you, between myself, my co-president Monica, and our board, we're pretty good about raising money. We're pretty good about asking for money, but we can't come up with that shortfall. So I urge you to please not make any additional cuts and vote yes to the full proposed budget you received. Now, taking off my hat as the PTA president and just having my mom hat on, my 3 girls all graduated Greenwich High School, not to mention my parents and my grandmothers. My son is a senior and headed off to college this fall. His plan is to get his master's degree in education, and he wants to come back to Greenwich High School and teach math. I am so proud that he wants to become an educator, but it's difficult to know what the future holds. Will he be able to get a job when he graduates? There's a lot of people who say, don't go into education. It's too much, there's too much uncertainty. Don't go back to Greenwich. It's too political. And the list goes on. But I strongly believe that our town can come together when we need to and offer our public school students and teachers the best without sacrifice. I want my son to be encouraged to continue on this path that he has chosen, and I can think of no better district to do it in. But we all need to realize the public schools are the very first step towards the future of our children. And if we can encourage others like my son to pursue becoming an educator and return to this town, our future looks very bright. It's time to set aside differences and see the bigger picture. Please vote yes for the proposed budget in front of you without cuts. Thank you.
Justine Bolduc, followed by Stephanie Krupa.
Good evening, BET members. My name is Justine, and I'm here as a North Street parent. I have a kindergartner and a third grader. And also, probably most important to you, I'm a very active voter in town and one of your constituents. I'm asking you to fully fund the BOE budget for 2025-26. Before I came here tonight, I had to talk to my 9-year-old about why I was leaving on a Wednesday night before bedtime. And when I told him what was going on, he was glad I was coming here because he's scared and upset that the ALP program that he loves and is thriving in may disappear next year. I realize that you guys don't pick the programs that go, but I think we all know that that's one of the top programs that's going to probably have to get cut if you don't approve this full budget. We don't all send our kids to, private school. That's a financial decision that some people get to make and others don't. And this is a program that allows so many children across the district to thrive, to reach their highest potential. What happens next year if that program goes away? Is he going to have to repeat math lessons that he's already mastered in a larger class with less individual attention because of all the teacher cuts that this arbitrary number that you've come up with creates? You have the power to keep my son and many other children in programs that they need and deserve. These children in these programs help to keep the Greenwich Public Schools test scores high. That keeps our rankings high. That keeps our property values high. Whether you have a child in public school, private school, or have no children at all, that impacts everyone in our district, in our whole town. So please listen to your constituents and vote to fully fund this budget. Thank you.
Stephanie Krupa, followed by James Walsh.
Members of the BET, I'm Stephanie Krupa, Julian Curtis PTA co-president. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address an issue that directly affects the students, teachers, and families of Julian Curtis Elementary School, the proposed budget cuts and their potential impact on our school. At Julian Curtis, we pride ourselves on fostering a supportive and enriching environment where every child has the opportunity to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. However, the proposed reductions in funding threaten to undermine the very foundation of what makes our school exceptional. Budget cuts often lead to teacher layoffs or hiring freezes, resulting in larger class sizes. At Julian Curtis, we know the value of individualized attention. Every child is unique, and our teachers work tirelessly to meet each student where they are. Programs such as art, music, PE, ALP, and language instruction are often among the first areas to face reductions during budget cuts. These programs are vital for fostering creativity, critical thinking, and well-rounded development. For many of our students, these activities are a source of joy and self-expression. The impact of these cuts would not stop at our school's doors. Julian Curtis is more than just a school. It is a cornerstone of our community. Julian Curtis, as well as Ham Ave, New Leb, and the middle schools, have already been deeply affected by budget issues. When we underfund our schools, we send a message to our children that their education is not a priority. This affects not only their future, but the future of our entire community. Strong schools build strong communities, and weakening the schools weakens all of us. I urge you to consider the long-term consequences of these budget cuts. Our children are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They are future leaders, innovators, and problem solvers of tomorrow. Investing in their education is not an expense. It is an investment in a better future for all of us. Fully funding the BOE budget shouldn't even be up for debate. Thank you.
James Walsh, followed by Laura Coran.
Hey, good evening all. My name is James Walsh. I'm a father of a CMS and a COSCOB student, and unfortunately have become increasingly frustrated that I need to come here before this body year after year to ask for the proper funding for our schools. I would like to stress the money the BET is looking to cut this year is not going to fund nice to have, but it's going to fund need to have renovations, programmings, and educators. The gap between what the BOE requested and what the BET has deemed appropriate is $4.1 million. With a town population of 63,518, that breaks out to just under $65 per Greenwich resident. Let that sink in. I don't think anyone would say that is an extravagant or extra amount to spend on our children. For too long, our educational facilities have been underfunded and the town has been forced to play catch up. Don't compound that error that you're currently striving to correct by starving our schools of the full budget the BOE has asked for. While parents can tolerate quirks and delays in updating facilities, they will not tolerate cuts in the operational budget that will negatively impact the quality of their children's education. Failing to fully fund the school's budget will not only reduce the educational experience of our children, but will also send a message to our educators that they are not valued and that all that is important in Greenwich is the mill rate. Tonight, I, and so far everyone else, with the exception of one individual, are asking you to fully fund the school's budget, even if that means raising the mill rate. Our children deserve it, our teachers and administrators deserve it, and the small amount this will cost the town will pay significant long-term dividends to our current and future students. Thank you.
Laura Coran, followed by Elspeth Spransky.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Laura Kwan. I have 3 children in Greenwich, one who's in elementary school and 2 who will be joining soon. I'm passionate about education, and here's what I want you to know. My husband and I moved here for 2 reasons. 1, for the quality of the public education, and 2, because we believe the leaders in this town are the kind of people who will choose to fund and invest in our youth. The quality of our education and enrichment programs like ALP are critical to the success of all children. If ALP were to be cut, others have said this, but it's so important, I want to say it again. Class sizes will be increased. It will be harder for teachers to address the needs of all students, and it increases the possibility that our most brightest students are going to be disengaged and disruptive because they are bored. I understand that you do not approve all of the elements of the budget, but I think we all know, as others have said, that if the full budget is not approved, that discretionary programs like ALP and even PE are going to be the first on the cutting block. My son Liam is here with me tonight. He's 8. He's in the ALP program at North Street, and he is listening and he is learning. And the decision you make tonight will send a very powerful message to him about how much you value his education. I urge you, do not compromise on what makes Greenwich great. Please take a stand, be heroes for our children, and vote to approve this entire budget. Thank you.
Elspeth Spransky, followed by Carrie Gruss.
Hi, I'm Elspeth Spransky. I'm a parent of a first grader at North Street, and I have a 4th grader at Julian Curtis. This puts me in a unique position where I get to have a perspective on the challenges of the larger class sizes at Julian Curtis, especially in the 4th grade. While I love JC's community and I'm over the moon with the new principals there, my son also loves the foreign languages and is finally speaking Spanish with his Peruvian grandparents. I am concerned about how these larger classes impact my son's experience and the effects of even more reduced funding for our school staff. My husband is a resident at Greenwich Hospital, and he's about to complete his residency in June. We're deciding, where are we going to live next? What's in our future? And I always thought we were going to be in Greenwich. I just had a feeling this is where I wanted to be. But now I'm very concerned about the future of education, public education in Greenwich, the very reason we originally chose to live here. We are simply asking for the basics tonight, and families are watching this decision. Please fully fund the school budget and demonstrate that we are invested in our children and in our educators. Thank you.
Harry Russ, followed by Caitlin Wardell.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Gruce, and I'm a parent of an NSS fourth grader and a CMS seventh grader. I'm also co-president for the CMS PTA, but tonight I'm speaking as a parent. Please vote to fully fund the BOE's proposed budget. Any cut to this budget will result in significant decreases in the quality of education Greenwich can offer their students. This budget includes only the absolutely necessary inclusions for our kids to continue to thrive. Our kids should not pay the price of a downgraded education to meet arbitrary spending caps. I urge you to pass the BOE budget fully funded to ensure another year of quality education can be offered in our public schools. Thank you.
Caitlin Wardell, followed by Claire Kilgallen.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Wardell. I'm a parent of a sixth grader at EMS and a fourth grader at Riverside. I urge you to pass the 2025-26 school budget. Excellence is expensive. I am sure you agree. Otherwise, you all would have chosen to live in a cheaper location. We have heard from wonderful educators who have dedicated their careers to our schools and our kids. We have heard from very polished and talented high school students. I would like to take this moment to remind you that students like that don't just arrive at Greenwich High School. They come up through the system known as GPS. GPS is a whole, and we cannot cut additional pieces out of it. Success doesn't happen overnight. Regeneron science finalists aren't made in 11th grade. Their interest and talent is nurtured starting in our elementary schools. Same for our debate team winners, where their curiosity is ignited. When a teacher has a third grade classroom with students who read everywhere from a 9th grade level to a 1st grade level, how is one teacher supposed to reach all 20 plus students? I urge you to not cut ALP, which takes the advanced students out of the class to give them what they need, so the general education teacher can give the other students what they need. So every student has a chance to be a science fair finalist in high school, should they want to work for that. Please don't be anti-academics. Please preserve and expand the excellence of GPS. Do not threaten it. At the very least, do it to preserve the real estate value of everyone in this room, including you.
Claire Kilgallen, followed by Keith Damsky.
Good evening. My name is Claire Kilgallen. For those who don't know me, good evening, Chair Fisher and the members of the board. Thank you for your service. I'm a longtime PTA volunteer, officer, etc. I served on the New Lebanon Building Committee. I am the vice chair of the Central Middle School Building Committee. And I'm also a substitute helping in the schools. And why is that? Because there is a need. And the reality is you all have jobs where you need to take off for your family medical leave because you are sick, or you have professional development and you have times you're out of the office. I think it's highly insulting to mischaracterize the absences of our teachers. I'd like to speak in full support of the capital budget. For those who may not remember, I feel like a broken record. When we advocated for New Lebanon, people said, oh, you're never going to meet your numbers. You're never going to hit it. Well, guess what? The numbers are hit. The 374 in the ed specs that people said we would never fill, that children would never come to the west side of town to Byram. We had 374, including 50 magnet student seats. Well, right now we have 385 students. The school opened in February of 2019, and we have 81 magnet students. So we've exceeded the projections that some people on this dais, and maybe a negative speaker earlier, thought would never come to fruition. Please do not be short-sighted. As a member of the CMS Building Committee, we fought vigorously to increase the funding for the building so that it could actually be constructed and required the $42 million needed in addition to do the project. I appreciate that investment. And we see some great work going out on here, and we're going to have a new building opening in August of 2026. This is very extemporaneous because I was working in pre-K all day, and that is draining. I can attest to the needs of the students, and if having attended many of these meetings, the prediction has come true. This is a zero-based budget. These are fixed costs. There is nowhere else to go. Years ago, we talked about the event horizon, where the cap and the cuts were going to come to an inflection point. And here we are. Are you really going to cut ALP? Are you really going to cut PE? Do you know what's going to happen in those classrooms with dysregulated children who have all this energy and can't, they need the time to be able to focus, and they need the PE, they need the ALP, they need the language. The value proposition of this town is what makes Greenwich great in investing what is needed. I know some people might look at this and say that there are emotional parents here who are speaking. I've been speaking for the past 15 years. And the fact is that the investment helps the grand list. So invest in what brings people to this town. Don't encourage people to go other exits up on 95.
Keith Damsky, followed by Jan D'Angelo.
It's hard to follow. Thanks, everybody. My name is Keith Damsky. I'm the proud dad of Theo. He's a COSCOB first grader. I'm also a District 2 member of the RTM, serving on the Finance Committee and the Budget Overview Committee. Next week, school budget is going to be reviewed, and it's no secret that there's a reasonable possibility it's going to get cut. There's a lot at stake here. Personally, for me and my family, civically also, for the role of disciplined analysis in budgeting. Let me talk personally first for a second. My 7-year-old has an IEP. He's in his second year of the Kotak Classroom program in COSCOB. The program has been transformational for him. He has developed core skills years ahead of what I dare dream, and he has classmates who get him and accept him. The Kotak program currently runs through 3rd grade. The proposed budget calls for it to continue into 4th. Cuts to the budget for the schools overall would threaten to stop it in its tracks. For my family, friends, neighbors, I implore you to preserve it. Now, I'm also aware that school budget is not only a matter of heart. Through the RTM, Finance Committee, and BOC lens, I see that much is at stake as well for the role of disciplined analysis in budgeting. On the one hand, you have all seen the extensive and detailed financial and educational programming analyses undertaken by the superintendent and the BOE. It's really long. You all have had ready access to the thorough analyses undertaken and presentations given by my RTM colleagues, some sitting right there. The proposed budget is supported by a mountain of good work. Now, on the other hand, some may be inclined to disagree. Disagreement and debate can be healthy. But what has been brought to bear in support of cuts? I would like to think that any calls for cuts to specific items would be grounded in a thoughtful analysis, or at least a clear enumeration of the items to be cut. If such work is available, it is highly elusive. Surely someone will point to the budget guidelines. I will point to them too, sadly. At least when it comes to the school budget, the guidelines, and I say this with sadness, have suffered a decline in rigor this cycle. Extensive work has been done in that regard. It can all be referenced. There are links.
30 seconds.
Thank you, Pete. As a tip of the iceberg for everyone here, to make this crystal clear, past guidelines recognized that contracts governing teacher salaries are not identical to those governing everyone else's salaries. Salary growth for school in town were different percentages. Now they're an identical round number of 3%. That's reasonable when we're just working to a guideline. It is not reasonable as the basis for a decision like this. So the decision of whether to fully fund the school budget is paired with another choice then, and I will say it plainly. Should the budget be based on clear-eyed, thorough analysis or not? Thank you.
And the last speaker tonight, Jan D'Angelo.
Hello. And like everyone else, I thank you for all of the time. I know I see all the meetings on the town calendar. You spend a lot of time. I didn't bring prepared notes and just hastily wrote something on my phone. I hope it doesn't disappear. I agree that the school budget needs to be fully funded. I have a part-time job at the Coscob Library, and being close to 3 schools, I see Greenwich Public School students as well as their teachers and parents every day, and they are impressive. But I want to bring up the need to fund the geothermal repairs refurbishment of the geothermal system at Hamilton Ave. As I've written to you, the students, faculty, and neighbors need this taken care of. Please do what the school board has requested and also the right thing for the comfort and health of our students and what will be in the long run better for the budget. Thank you for staying and listening to all of our comments.
Okay. That brings us to the end of tonight's public hearing. Did you want to speak? Okay, would you sign a slip so we have a record?
There were no slips on the back when I came in. I'm sorry.
You can speak first and then make sure you fill one out afterwards, please.
Thank you. I am Alex Pop. I'm a Greenwich resident, RTM member, 26 years teaching at Riverside School. I was on the feasibility committee. The architect did a masterful job collecting all the staff input and creating one inclusive plan. However, just note that there's only one plan created, and the feasibility committee was not tasked with prioritizing or voting on any of the recommendations. Yes, the ed specs are a step in the right direction, and we all acknowledge that there are a few tight spaces in the building that need to be fixed. But I believe the ed specs still need to be revisited and revised. The idea that classrooms need to be expanded to meet some state standard is problematic and unnecessary. There are costs and drawbacks that have not been fully vetted. First of all, Riverside is a top-performing elementary school in the district and one of the top 5 in the state. We're achieving stellar academic performance. Expanding the rooms by 80 to 100 square feet will have absolutely no academic increase in academic performance. Secondly, Greenwich just undergoing a major renovation, and it was approved by BOE, BET, RTM. And according to the ed specs, the facility will maintain grade 2 to 5 room size, averaging slightly smaller than Riverside. So my question is, why does if Greenwich doesn't need larger rooms, then why does Riverside? As a teacher at the beginning of every year, like all teachers in the district, I keep my fingers crossed, wishing for smaller class sections. And at Riverside, some of us are starting to worry that now that we have potential of more spacious rooms, that would welcome a larger student headcount. So in other words, more space just might mean more students in the class, and that would be detrimental. Number 4, the renovation expansion will be multi-year. Tearing down walls means sections of the building will be completely gutted. A clear vision of where to house the students and associated costs needs to be considered. 5th, moving walls and expanding the spaces could result in the exterior window frames being off-centered, and the windows will no longer be aligned with the room. And it's possible that 2 rooms could share the same window. If a complete interior renovation is in order, like Old Greenwich, maybe we ought to have the discussion. Maybe we need a new building, which I don't necessarily agree with, or do we just maintain the classrooms, and the ones that need to be fixed, we fix them or we move them to the space of the addition. Thank you.
Molly Salibi, which I guess will be the last one.
Hi, thanks. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I've spoken the last 8 years. And I listened to a myriad of compelling people tonight. So I couldn't say things better. The difference in and folks talked about 4 million and the big gap. Well, I look at it a different way. 37.2% versus 38.6% of the overall budget if you fully fund the schools. And fund the schools. Otherwise, let's start changing BET guidelines to BET mandates. Thanks.
James Waters.
Good evening, members of the VET. I was not planning to get up and speak tonight, but since my project was referenced a minute ago, I felt like it's important to set the record straight. As you said, my name is James Waters. I serve as the chairman of the RTM Budget Overview Committee. I'm also chairman of the Old Greenwich School Building Committee. Tonight, I want to provide you with some personal comments. First, the Old Greenwich renovation is going to be starting this summer, thanks to a majority of you. And also thanks to the hard work of the stellar Old Greenwich School Building Committee. I hope you will attend our groundbreaking. You've all been invited. Second, I do want to flag that the RTM approved the current teacher contract that's incorporated in this budget in October 2022 by a margin of 57% to 43%. That was in the previous RTM before many of the 43% were ousted by voters in November 2023. Third, I would like to lend my support to the Riverside renovation project. I can tell you that the Old Greenwich School Building Committee stands ready to support the building committee as it gets going. I was glad to see that the feasibility committee took a lot of the lessons learned from previous projects in putting together a solid plan that the Board of Education approved overwhelmingly. To the previous speaker's point, the reason that the grades 2 through 5 classrooms in Old Greenwich School did not need to get expanded, it's because they are plenty spacious. That is much different than what you have at Riverside. That is a very important point and is why the feasibility committee made the decisions that they made with the Riverside ed specs. So I hope you'll actually consider those facts because I think all of them are material from the teacher contract that is incorporated in the operating budget to some of the items in your capital budget. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's finally it. Did you have one more, Pete? No. Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing at 9:05. I thank everybody for their comments and their attendance and all of that. And the board will reconvene tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock in town.